Thank you so much for joining us on Straight Outta Savannah. My guest Jeffrey Holst is here with me. I'm super excited that he has joined me. He's going to share exactly who he is and what he does. Jeffrey, take it away.
Oh, thanks so much. I appreciate you having me here. So so my name is Jeff Holst. I'm a real estate investor, but I actually try not to think of myself in the same kind of terms as most people, right? So what I'm known for, if I'm known for anything, is real estate investing. But I like to think of it more broadly than that. So I'm a recovering attorney. I was practicing law back in 2007, 8, 9, and 10. I actually was diagnosed with leukemia in 2010, and it ended up pushing me into personal bankruptcy. So I was a bankruptcy attorney, and I ended up bankrupt in 2010. Wow. And then, yeah, it was a challenging time for sure. But I'm actually in retrospect, it was also a really amazing time for me because it got me to realize that life's super short. And I thought I was going to die for a little while. And when I realized I wasn't going to die, I went, I don't know that I actually want to be a lawyer. Like, I actually rather be a real estate investor. So I immediately quit practicing law and I moved to Tennessee from Michigan, took a job that was reasonably well paying. And I took all of the money from my bonuses and invested them in real estate. Starting in 2011, and by 2017, I was actually able to quit my job and live just off of my real estate investments. So I was able to retire at 37, which is crazy. Yeah, just before I turned 38, and I would never have been able to do that if I hadn't gone through that, traumatic time. And I mean, honestly, it was really hard, right? I mean, it wasn't easy to be sick. It wasn't easy to think you're going to die, but it also is not easy to file bankruptcy and then try to come back from that, because that's the other thing. Like, investing in real estate 6 months after filing bankruptcy is actually really challenging, especially in a time when the economy is still crashing and people are trying to recover from all of the craziness that was going on then. Although that seems less crazy than what we've had to deal with the last couple of years now. Yes. But at the time, it was a really bad thing to be going through. So,
yes, I can just imagine. So, so how I can only imagine how it felt to be dealing with your own personal bankruptcy after, being a counselor to other people for bankruptcy.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually harder than getting sick in a lot of ways, because it kind of felt like failure. Yes. But I have this personal life philosophy, and I started this when I was 17. I don't know why I thought of this, but one day I just woke up and went, I'm not going to have bad days anymore. Like, I don't believe in bad days. Like, I think every day good and bad stuff happens to everyone. And I feel like if you remind yourself not to have bad days and to look for positive, you just get better at it over time. Yeah. So for me, when I got diagnosed, people were, I mean, it had already been like 13 years of no bad days, right? And so I was kind of, sort of known for that, because I have like t-shirts that say no bad days and coffee mugs that say no bad days,
nice.
Stuff like that. So I was telling all these people, I never have bad days. I don't have bad days. Today's a good day. Sort of like a self-selection mantra kind of thing. And so in the hospital that night, people come into the hospital to see me and they'd be like, oh, I bet today's a bad day. Like, they almost wanted to prove it wasn't possible. But I kind of felt like, I got diagnosed in the evening. Most of the day was pretty good. I'm not going to let the evening ruin the rest of the day. It already happened. And right. Then, yeah, and I mean, I really felt that way. And then the next day was a little bit challenging, but I was about 2 p.m, and there was a shift change in the hospital. And, I was struggling a little with mentally thinking, well, this is not good, right? Like, I don't want to die. Like, I mean, I was 30 years old, for crying out loud. It's like, you don't want to die at 30 if you don't have to. I mean, actually, most people don't really want to die at any age if they don't have to, as long as they're healthy. And so I just kind of went, wow, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to make today a good day? Because I'm really stubborn about this. And this nurse came in and she looked at me and she was like, oh my God, Jeff, I'm so sorry to see you here. And I was like, oh my God, Shelly, I'm so happy to see you. Because she was a childhood babysitter of mine I hadn't seen in like 10, 15 years. And so to me, that was like it was proof, right? Like, good and bad stuff happens every day. I mean, I had this bad thing, like I had leukemia. That's terrible. terrible. But on the flip side of that, there was this positive externality of that I got to see this person that was a really big, important person in my childhood that I didn't know I would ever see again. And that was almost overwhelming, the happiness that I felt, because I realized that whether I had, a month to live or whether I was going to recover, there was still joy to be had. And that mattered to me. And so it made my day okay. It made my day actually pretty good. And I remember telling that to my wife that night, and she was like, very upset, obviously, because, she thought I was dying, and turns out I didn't die. So it worked out for us. But she was very upset then. And I was just kind of like, you got to understand, like, whatever time we have, we just have to enjoy it. Like, that's what we do. And I think she thought I was crazy at the time. She still thinks I'm crazy sometimes. I probably am. But what I always tell people is, even if it's a complete delusion that I'm having a good day, it doesn't really matter, because how you perceive the day is how you live.
What
I mean,
it is.
it's like somewhere in the world today, someone's having the best day of their life. Somewhere else in the world, someone's having the worst day of their life. So today, it's neither good nor bad. It's just however you perceive it. That's how you're going to live. And so for me, if I confuse myself into believing it's a good day, even when bad stuff's happening, it's kind of worth it, because it's a lot easier to have good days than bad days. And the other thing that happens too is, if you're positive about this stuff, when you do get something shocking, you're able to process it easier and you're able to move forward easier. So like, I was the 2 days after being diagnosed, when most people would be, crying or scared or whatever, I was calling up other doctors' offices for second opinions and thinking, like, I got to figure this out. Like, I like being alive. I want to see the solution. And I handled it differently than I think I would have if I had let it, really bring me down. And I mean, I could have curled up in a ball and died, right? Like, not gotten the treatment that I got, but instead I went and got experimental treatments that now are the standard course of treatment. So, I don't regret that, because I'm still here. So
I was gonna say, and how was your wife was with you during this whole time?
yeah, I mean, she stayed the first day and a half in the hospital until I made her go home and sleep, because she hadn't slept for days. But yeah, no, she stuck with me the whole time. And we've, not that we've never had challenges, because all relationships have some challenges, but we've been pretty happy. And now we're in Tennessee together and about to move to Puerto Rico together. So
that is what's up. I'm so excited. Tell me how that came about for you.
Sure. So I went to Puerto Rico earlier this year. Actually, we went to Puerto Rico on our honeymoon. So this is not the first time I'd ever been to Puerto Rico. And we've gone back on cruises and stuff. So we have a romantic opinion of how great Puerto Rico is relative to say everywhere else. And then this year I went to Puerto Rico. One of my friends was going through some troubling times, and we decided we just need to get out of town and go to the ocean for a weekend. And so we went down to Puerto Rico, just like a guy's trip down there. And we met up with a mutual friend of ours that we knew that lives in Puerto Rico. And he was telling us how great it was and everything. And I remember I walked out of that meeting and I just turned to Brian, who's my partner and friend. And he said, oh, that sounds pretty nice here. And I go, yeah, I'm moving here. And he was like, no, you're not. And I'm like, no, I really am moving here. I literally made the decision that day. And then I went home and made a video on YouTube called Don't Tell My Wife I'm Moving to Puerto Rico. And I posted it on YouTube. And then I sent it to my wife and I said, you might want to look at this video. It's kind of crazy, but it worked out, because she was like, oh, I guess I'm moving to Puerto Rico. She didn't go, oh, have fun. That would have been a bad result.
Right.
So,
I was going to say, so she's totally on board.
yeah, I mean, her response was kind of unexpected to me, because I thought she would either be resistant to it or she'd be really excited about it. We had been talking about moving to the island somewhere for a while, and we hadn't really decided where. We talked about different places. Puerto Rico was not even on our radar, actually. Okay. But I just kind of went okay, well, we'll move somewhere. And then when I came back, she asked a few questions, and then she said, okay, well, that means I'm going to have to quit my job, because they don't have, she works for a national chain retailer and they don't have any locations in Puerto Rico. Plus, she doesn't speak any Spanish. Neither do I, for that matter. We're just learning now. we're working on it.
That was gonna be my question too.
Yeah, we're taking lessons. We're hopefully we'll learn a little bit more. But you can get along pretty well in San Juan without speaking Spanish. I was just there this weekend, and I didn't have any trouble. So, and then you have things like Google Translate and stuff like that makes this quite a bit easier. So.
Yeah.
But so she asked a couple questions, and then she said, well, if I'm going to quit my job, I want to do the Appalachian Trail, which is, for people who don't know, is a 2,190-mile hike that goes from Georgia to Maine, and it takes six months, right? And she said, so if we're going to move to Puerto Rico, you're going to be there about 6 months by yourself, because I'm going to be hiking in the woods. And I was like, okay. Because she's letting me move to Puerto Rico. If she wants to go walk in the woods for a while, I'm going to let her do it. And actually her mom's going with her, so I'm really excited for them. I think they're going to have a good time. But I don't have any desire to sleep in a tent for 6 months straight. It does not sound good to me. So
I was going to say that sounds like a wonderful girls' trip that I will never participate in.
Yeah, no, it sounds really, really exhausting.
Yeah.
Climbing up and down mountains for weeks and weeks on end. And I did a mountain climb where it was 8 days climbing Mt Kilimanjaro in Africa. I did that in 2020, actually, right before the pandemic hit. So February of 2020, that whole month, I was in East Africa. I was in Kenya and Tanzania and Ethiopia. But I came off of that mountain very happy that I did it, but also very aware that I was not a mountain climber and I didn't want to do that ever again. Like, I don't like sleeping in tents and sleeping bags and cold and, all that stuff. It's just and you smell really bad because you can't take showers and stuff. It's just really, it's not great.
I tell people I'm a glamper.
Yeah, glamping is fine. That would be great. Like stay in an RV and, be able to walk to the bar or something, bed. Call it good. Yeah.
No, I thought about that. My husband actually bought us a tent so we could go and picnic on the beach. And I was like, no.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest,
there's no mattress in it.
Yeah, well, sand's kind of nice, right? So one night on a beach or something, I mean, I could do that. I don't mind going camping, but I'll tell you, if I go for a hike, right? Then I'm fine with, I like hiking. I even like light mountain climbing, like in the Appalachian Mountains or something. It's really nice. But when I get done with the hike, I want to go to the local bar and have a couple beers and a steak sandwich, and then and then go home and take a shower and go to sleep in my own bed. I don't need to stay overnight. It sounds pretty terrible to hike all day and then have to set up a tent and then have to cook food over a fire or something, and then food that by the way, you had to carry for days on end, right? Because you only get into town about once every 5 or 7 days. So yeah, no. But I mean, honestly, it's super inspiring. If she wants to do it and she goes out and does that, that's something that very few people ever get to do in their life. So
right, and that's powerful. I mean, but yeah.
And that is kind of my thing. I mean, I actually have a whole podcast that we do called Last Life Ever, where we just try to help inspire people to live the best version of their lives, whatever that means to them. And for my wife, it's, going out and hiking on the Appalachian Trail is about living her life. That's an adventure that she's always wanted to do. Never even mentioned it to me until she said she was going to do it. And I go, really? I didn't know that was something you wanted to do, but I'm not going to discourage her from chasing her dreams when I do mine. I go Kilimanjaro or, backpack around Egypt or South America, and stuff. And we're going to Antarctica in a couple of months. So that should be pretty exciting. Yeah. So we've been trying to live the best version of our lives. And all of that honestly goes back to getting sick. If I hadn't gotten sick, I would never have had that philosophy of, you got to do these things now. It's really your last chance. I was
going to say that. I was going to ask about that because I know that happens to a lot of people. It's almost like you come face to face with yourself, with your own mortality, and you say, okay, what am I going to do with this? Right?
Yeah.
So then do you coach people on that as well?
Yeah, so I don't do coaching on that too much, but I do tell people it, right? I go on shows like yours and I tell people how important it is, because the truth is we're all terminal. Like, just because I found out sooner doesn't mean that you're not going to die, right? Like,
Right.
we're all going to die someday. And
Mhm.
so we can't really bank on when that's going to be. Like, we could get into a car accident, or, you could get sick, or you could have, a heart attack. I mean, there are lots of things that could happen. And I mean, it's not about being morbid and being like, oh, I might die today, because that's not useful either. But it's
Yeah.
just about having a healthy awareness of the fact that we have this relatively short period of time. And if we don't do the things that we want to do, that we feel called to do, right, then we're never going to do them. And saying someday I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, whatever those things are, that's risky, because someday might never come. Like, we don't know how much time we have. And to be honest, I feel like we owe it to the world to do these things, because I think there's only one Tammy Morrison. That you're it. If you don't do the things that you're drawn to, the things that produce the most extraordinary, best possible version of your life,
Yes.
then no one's ever going to do those things.
Yes.
Because you're the only one that can do the best version of your life. And the world becomes better when we do those things. That's where people start charities and do things that inspire other people to do better things. And the people that are most impressive to me are typically people that have overcome adversity, but also people that have just recognized this through whatever, maybe they saw a family member or friend get sick and die, and then realize, oh, you know what, that could happen to me. And I mean, my goal for telling people this stuff is so they don't have to wait until they see somebody that they love die, or they die, or they get sick themselves. Like, just recognizing that we don't have time to wait. This is our last chance. Even if you believe in reincarnation or whatever, it's like, this is the last shot you got at this life right now. And if you want to make the world better, if you want to make your family better, you want to protect your friends, your loved ones, your community, all of that. I mean, I really think we owe it to everyone, to ourselves, to our family, to our community, and to the whole world to do these things.
Truly, truly. Yeah, because the thing is I believe that if we are fulfilled, the more of us that are fulfilled, the better this world is going to be.
That's exactly right.
It's like, if you just, because I believe that so many people have so many issues and drama and stuff like that, because they're not fulfilled, because they're not doing what, their soul's calling is, what's calling them. They're not doing it. And then they're taking it to the grave,
Yeah, and that's the saddest thing, right? Like people are like, oh, like this stuff's really hard, but what's harder? Like trying and failing at something? I mean, that's hard, but it'd be much harder, I think, to be on your deathbed and realize you never took the shot.
Yes, that.
And that's what you need to avoid. Like I'm not saying you should never regret anything that you do in life, but you should try to live a life that you're not going to have regrets. That when you look back at it, you say, hey, I took a shot. I did the things that I wanted to do. I tried. I made the world better, and I'm leaving the world in a better place than what it would have been if I wasn't here. Yeah. And I think we all can do that. We all have that potential. We all have a light inside of us that that the world tries to stifle. Like kids have no problem dreaming. Like, you ask a 5-year-old what they want to do when they grow up, and they're like, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to go to Jupiter, or I want to be president. It doesn't matter, right? Like, the kids believe they can do this stuff.
Yes.
And the world conspires to make it so that we crush our dreams, and we fall into this line of like trading our time for five days a week so we can have a weekend where we're too tired to do anything exciting, and then go home and watch Netflix or something instead of like go start a charity or a business or whatever it is. And then it becomes like self-defeating, and then you don't believe you can do it. And I talk to people all the time that say, I would love to, move to Puerto Rico or go to Egypt or whatever it is. But I just can't, I don't have the money. I don't have the time or whatever. And the thing is, like, it's cheaper to go to Egypt than it is to go to Disney World. It just is. I mean, it's like Disney World's expensive. And I know a lot of people that go to Disney World.
Disney World is
it's
like something you got to save for a year.
Yeah, exactly. But the point is, even if your dream is to go to Disney World, you can do it. You just got to save for a year. And everything that you want to do, it's just like about coming up with a plan and then sticking to that plan. If you do those things, you can live an extraordinary life. And that's what I think people need to learn.
Yes, that's awesome. Have you written any books?
I have one book that I wrote that I have not released yet. I'm working on it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Because I was seeing that about you, and I was like,
Yeah. Well, we did a book like during coronavirus called the Coronavirus Collective. And the money from the book gets donated to charity. So I would encourage people to check that out. It's written by 30 different authors. Myself and my co-host of Last Life Ever compiled it. And it's just messages of positivity and hope, all written in the first month of the shutdown.
awesome, awesome.
Yeah, and it's really good. It stands the test of time really well because it gives you this unique look into what people were thinking. And these are some pretty extraordinary people. One person grew up on the steppe in Mongolia as a nomad, and now is getting her PhD in Southern California, and was talking about how she couldn't even contact her family because they literally live in, they're nomads, right? Like there's no way without going there to talk to them, and the whole world shut down, right? And how she thought about it. And another person is Frank McKinney's a best-selling author. He's written 7 or 8 books that are all international bestsellers. He was talking about how he was looking at it and how he was perceiving that this was going to be an opportunity for people to grow. And I thought that was extremely insightful. I actually wrote about Kilimanjaro because if you think about the timing, I really kind of went up the mountain in one world and came down in a completely different one. There was no COVID in Africa when I started climbing. And when I got off 8 days later, there was COVID in every country in Africa. I mean, that's a crazy time to be traveling and to go like, we didn't have the news for 8 days, and then we came down and the world was completely different. So I wrote about that. I think that book is really good and people should definitely check it out.
So did you send me the link?
I didn't, but I will.
Please. I was gonna say, because
sure.
I'll include it in the
Great.
show notes. This way people can get it. Because I think that's going to be an amazing book. I'm already visualizing what it could be.
Yeah, no, well, if you read it, you'll have to reach back out and tell me what you think, because I really am proud of it. And I think people will really get a lot of benefit from that. And again, all the money goes to 4 different charities that support. One's a anti-sex trafficking charity in Mozambique, and another one flies people from northern Kenya that need an emergency medical condition to Nairobi. So it's stuff like that, and I think that's really, really great. I mean, it's only a few dollars for every copy we sell, but it's still a few dollars, right? And every little bit helps.
I was ready to say every dollar counts. Yeah, that's what's up. Okay, what I'll do is, do you have it? Is it on Amazon?
It is, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, all right. So share with the people where they can connect with you, and
sure.
Any last words if you have anything that you have going on. You can
Sure, I appreciate that. So the best place to find me is actually in our Last Life Ever private group on Facebook. It's free to join, and it's just called Last Life Ever private group. And I'll send you that link too. And that is where we just share this inspirational stuff like our show, but we also share like just anything we run across, or if people are dealing with something and they want to talk about it, or if they have a win that they want to share with the group, they can do that there. And I just love interacting with people and learning what kind of stuff they're doing. But of course, I'm also on all of the social medias, right? Like, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, any of the places that you find people, and it's always Jeffrey Holst. So it's just my name. And I'm pretty active on Instagram, so people could definitely check that out too.
Awesome. That is so powerful. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been an amazing show. I say this with every show, but I'm saying it again. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and hang out with me. And I just want to let you know that I appreciate you.
Thanks so much for having me on. I've enjoyed talking to you.
Oh, you're so welcome. So we're going to end this today. Thank you so much for watching with us, folks. Jeffrey, thank you for joining me. Everyone else, thank you for joining me and for hanging out with us wherever you watch or listen to this audio program. So have a wonderful rest of whenever you're listening. Bye now.